The Galactic Accord had existed for nearly a millennium, a council of the most advanced and ancient species in the galaxy, designed to maintain peace and ensure order among the stars. For centuries, it worked. New species were inducted with care, their capabilities analyzed, their technologies vetted, and their cultures assimilated into the vast network of interstellar governance. When humanity made its presence known, the Accord barely noticed. Earth was classified as a backwater world, a latecomer to the galactic stage with barely functional warp drives and technology deemed primitive by Accord standards. To them, humans were a curiosity at best, a potential nuisance at worst. The first real encounter came during the Interstellar Trade Summit on Corvallis 9. It was a grand event where species from across the galaxy showcased their technologies, innovations, and military prowess. The highlight was always the naval exhibition, a parade of ships, from sleek karate cruisers to the imposing dreadnoughts of the Vorik Dominion. These displays served as subtle reminders of power, status, and dominance. Humanity, newly invited to observe the summit, sent a small delegation aboard a ship called the Odyssey. It was a modest vessel, barely the size of a karate patrol craft, and its design was uninspiring. A simple gray hull, no visible weaponry, and an engine array that seemed antiquated. The other species barely gave it a second glance. When Earth's delegation stepped onto the summit floor, the atmosphere was awkward. The human diplomats, led by Ambassador Elena Moore, were greeted with polite indifference. Other species towered over them, physically, culturally, and technologically. Snide comments passed between the gathered dignitaries as they observed the humans' plain uniforms and nervous demeanor. "The primitives shouldn't be here," one Vorik officer muttered. "What could they possibly contribute?" "They probably still use combustion engines," quipped a karate diplomat, eliciting laughter. But humanity remained composed. Ambassador Moore listened carefully during the summit's debates, her team taking notes and asking questions. When invited to present, she politely declined. "We're here to learn," she said with a calm smile. The other delegates nodded condescendingly, convinced that humanity's meekness confirmed their assumptions. Then came the naval exhibition. One by one, the great powers of the Accord demonstrated their fleets. The Vorik dreadnought Torvax fired a devastating plasma beam that obliterated a simulated asteroid field in seconds. The Karate showcased their cloaked corvettes, which maneuvered through a minefield undetected. The Shylon Compact displayed their ion disruptors, capable of disabling an entire fleet systems in a single burst. When humanity's turn came, there was an audible chuckle from the crowd. "The humans brought their what is it? The Odyssey?" one of the judges asked, suppressing a grin. "Yes," Ambassador Moore replied, her tone steady. "We also brought a demonstration fleet. It's waiting just outside the system." This drew surprised murmurs. No one had noticed another human ship, let alone a fleet. A Vorik officer scoffed. "Surely you're not serious." "What fleet?" Moore smiled faintly and tapped her communicator. "Odyssey, you're clear to signal the task force." Moments later, space itself seemed to ripple. A dozen human warships appeared, dropping out of warp in perfect formation. The vessels were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Sleek, angular designs with hulls that shimmered as if alive. Their weapons systems glowed faintly, their engines emitting a soft hum that radiated power. The crowd fell silent. These weren't the clunky, primitive ships they had imagined. Ambassador Moore turned to the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce the Aegis fleet, designed and built entirely by humanity." The crowd erupted in whispered speculation. The Vorik officer squinted at his console. "Impossible. How did they?" Before he could finish, the Aegis fleet began its demonstration. The first maneuver was a warp space calibration exercise. The ships disappeared and reappeared instantaneously, forming intricate patterns that no other species had ever achieved. Their precision was flawless, their coordination mesmerizing. Next came the weapons test. The flagship, Aegis Eternal, fired its main cannon, a weapon that combined kinetic energy with plasma compression. The resulting blast tore through a reinforced asteroid cluster, reducing it to dust in a single shot. "That can't be right," muttered a karate engineer. "The energy output is off the charts." No one can generate that kind of power on a ship that size. But the humans weren't done. The fleet began its final demonstration, a live combat simulation. Deploying a swarm of autonomous drones, the Aegis fleet ran an exercise against an array of simulated enemies. The drones moved with terrifying efficiency, anticipating and countering every maneuver the simulation threw at them. Within minutes, the entire simulated enemy fleet was obliterated. By the end of the demonstration, the chamber was dead silent. Ambassador Moore stepped forward, her calm demeanor unchanged. We understand that humanity is new to the galaxy. We've been underestimated before, and we don't mind. It gives us time to prepare, to adapt, and to innovate. You see, humans don't just survive, we thrive under pressure. What you've seen today is only the beginning. The Vorik officer, his pride clearly wounded, growled. So you've built some advanced ships. It doesn't change the balance of power. Your fleet is small. You lack numbers, resources, and experience. Moore nodded thoughtfully. You're right. We don't have the largest fleet. But what we lack in numbers, we make up for in ingenuity and determination. And if anyone doubts our resolve, she gestured to the Aegis fleet on the display. We'd be happy to demonstrate further. The message was clear. Humanity wasn't here to beg for respect. They were here to earn it. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy buzzed with talk of humanity's unexpected prowess. Some species sought alliances, eager to tap into human innovation. Others viewed them with suspicion, wondering what else these primitives were hiding. The Vorik Dominion, humiliated by the display, began plotting in secret, determined to prove humanity's place was still beneath them. But humanity didn't care about the whispers or the plots. They were too busy building ships, alliances, and a future among the stars. And when the Vorik finally made their move, launching a surprise attack on a human colony, they learned the hard way just what humans were capable of. The Aegis fleet arrived within hours, responding with a level of ferocity and precision that the Vorik had never encountered. By the end of the skirmish, the Vorik flagship was in ruins, their fleet scattered. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as humanity, the so-called newcomers, issued a simple message to the Vorik. Underestimate us again, and you won't have a fleet left to retreat with. From that day forward, no one laughed at humanity's fleet. They had taught the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. Humans didn't just adapt to the stars, they thrived in them. The destruction of the Vorik fleet sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Humanity's response wasn't just brutal. It was decisive, calculated, and left no room for doubt. Every species in the Galactic Accord now understood that humans weren't the weak newcomers they'd been mistaken for. They were something far more dangerous. A species that turned every disadvantage into a weapon, every mistake into a lesson, and every insult into fuel for their fire. In the aftermath of the battle, humanity didn't revel in their victory. They sent a single representative to the Galactic Accord, a young diplomat named Aaron Voss, to deliver a statement. Standing before the Council's towering chamber, surrounded by representatives of the galaxy's most powerful species, Voss spoke with calm resolve. Let me be clear, he began, his voice steady and firm. Humanity does not seek war. We do not wish to conquer or dominate. We came to the stars not to impose our will, but to build something greater, together. But make no mistake. We will defend ourselves, our people, and our allies with everything we have. If there's one thing you should know about humans, it's this. We don't back down. The chamber was silent. Even the Vorik ambassador, nursing his species' wounded pride, had no rebuttal. The other species watched humanity with newfound respect and fear. Humanity had proven they could wield power, but they had also demonstrated restraint. They didn't strike first, only when provoked. And when they struck, they ensured their enemies never forgot. In the years that followed, humanity's position in the galaxy shifted. Alliances were formed as species sought to align themselves with this rising power. The Kavari Collective, impressed by humanity's ingenuity, shared their advanced energy technology in exchange for human innovations in AI. The Shylon Compact offered a trade pact, providing rare minerals from their asteroid belts in return for human-designed ship engines that could cut warp travel times in half. But not everyone was eager to embrace humanity's rise. The Vorik Dominion, humiliated and vengeful, began to rebuild their forces in secret. They formed shadow alliances with rogue factions and outlaws, pooling resources for a single purpose: to destroy humanity before they could solidify their place among the stars. Humanity, however, wasn't idle. The Aegis fleet was only the beginning. Earth's shipyards, now among the busiest in the galaxy, churned out new vessels equipped with cutting-edge technology. Defense networks were established around human colonies, each one bristling with weaponry and shielded by layers of protective fields. Humanity didn't just prepare for the next war. They planned to win it before it even started. Despite these preparations, the Vorax attack, when it came, still caught humanity off guard. It began on the colony of New Horizon, a bustling world on the edge of human space. Vorax forces, using stolen cloaking technology, bypassed the colony's defenses and launched a devastating assault. Cities burned, and the skies were filled with the thunder of war as ground forces and orbital bombardments rained destruction. But if the Vorax thought they had the upper hand, they underestimated humanity once again. New Horizon wasn't just a colony. It was a testing ground for Earth's latest experimental technologies. Among them were automated defense drones, swarms of self-repairing machines programmed to adapt to enemy tactics in real time. When the Vorax fleet descended, the drones activated, their sleek forms darting through the skies like predatory birds. They tore through Vorax ships with ruthless efficiency, disabling engines, targeting weapon systems, and overwhelming their shields. On the ground, Vorax soldiers faced a nightmare of their own. Human exosuits, powered armor fitted with advanced AI and enhanced weaponry, turned the tide of battle. Ordinary farmers and engineers, equipped with these suits, fought with the strength and precision of seasoned warriors. The Vorax commanders quickly realized they weren't facing just soldiers. They were facing an entire population ready to defend their home. By the time the Aegis fleet arrived, the battle was already over. The Vorax forces were in disarray, their ships either destroyed or disabled, their soldiers routed. It was a humiliating defeat, one that the galaxy would not forget. Humanity's response was swift and merciless. Within days, the Aegis fleet launched a counteroffensive, striking at key Vorax outposts and dismantling their supply lines. They didn't aim to annihilate the Vorax Dominion. They aimed to cripple its ability to wage war. Vorax leaders, faced with the destruction of their military infrastructure, had no choice but to sue for peace. But humanity wasn't content with simple reparations. At the negotiating table, Ambassador Voss delivered an ultimatum. The Vorax Dominion has a choice, he said. You can continue to see humanity as a threat and face extinction, or you can choose to coexist. We are not your enemy, unless you make us one. The Vorax begrudgingly agreed to a ceasefire, their pride shattered. The terms were harsh. They would dismantle their remaining war fleets, open their borders to inspections, and pay reparations to the colonies they had attacked. It was a clear message to the galaxy. Humanity would not be trifled with. In the years that followed, the Galactic Accord entered a new era. Humanity's rise had shaken the foundations of galactic politics, forcing species to rethink their assumptions and adapt to a new reality. But it wasn't just fear that defined humanity's legacy, it was hope. Under human leadership, the Accord began to change. Trade routes flourished, technological advancements spread rapidly, and old rivalries faded as cooperation became the norm. Humanity's example of resilience, ingenuity, and unity served as a guiding light for the galaxy. As for the Vorax, their empire crumbled under the weight of their defeat. But even they couldn't deny the truth. Humanity had earned their place among the stars, not through conquest, but through sheer determination and a refusal to be underestimated. And so, the galaxy learned a lesson it would never forget. Humanity wasn't just another species in the vastness of space. They were something far more formidable, a force to be reckoned with, a spark that could ignite change, and a testament to the power of persistence. Because when humans were underestimated, they didn't just rise to the occasion, they soared beyond it. As the years passed, humanity's influence continued to grow across the galaxy, but their presence wasn't always welcomed with open arms. While most species had accepted the fact that humans were no longer just an anomaly but a dominant force in galactic affairs, there were still those who viewed them as a threat, and even more who envied their rise. Among these were the Cherith, a race of ancient, highly intellectual beings known for their vast libraries of knowledge and their centuries-old isolationist policies. They were revered across the galaxy for their wisdom, and many species held them in awe. To the Cherith, humanity's rapid rise was a source of disdain. They viewed it as a challenge to their place in the cosmos, a reminder that they could no longer control the flow of power. The Cherith began to subtly undermine humanity's efforts to establish a stable, peaceful galactic order. Their influence spread to factions that had long sought to keep humanity isolated, sowing seeds of distrust and fear. They whispered that humanity's sudden growth could lead to tyranny, that their military power was too great, and that their hunger for expansion would eventually bring destruction to the entire galaxy. The tension reached a boiling point when a Cherith ambassador, Rethanner, delivered a formal address to the Galactic Accord. The gathering was a rare one, an assembly of all major species, and many eyes were turned toward the ancient race, waiting for their message. Rethanner spoke with calm authority, his words deliberate and measured. "You all know that the rise of humanity has been swift," he said, his piercing gaze sweeping the chamber. "And with this rapid ascent, there comes a great danger. You cannot ignore the truth. Humanity is expanding too quickly, too aggressively. Their fleet, though impressive, could one day turn inward. They do not understand the balance of power, nor do they respect the natural order of galactic peace. It is time for the galaxy to act before it is too late." The room fell silent. Many species had grown comfortable with humanity's presence, even welcomed it. But there were those who feared the implications of their continued growth. The council members shifted uncomfortably, some exchanging looks. The idea of confronting humanity head-on seemed ludicrous, but the Cherith's warning was not easily dismissed. Their wisdom had been the foundation of the galaxy's peace for millennia. Ambassador Voss, now a seasoned diplomat, rose to address the assembly. He knew this moment could change everything, and he could feel the weight of every eye upon him. His reputation as a human leader was on the line, but he also understood that this wasn't about him. It was about humanity's future. "Ambassador Rethanner, I understand your concerns," Voss began, his voice steady but firm. "But I ask you to reconsider. Humanity's growth, though rapid, is not a sign of aggression. It is a reflection of our resilience, of our ability to adapt and thrive under pressure. We do not seek to conquer. We do not seek to control. What we seek is cooperation, unity, and prosperity for all species. Our fleet is not a tool of oppression. It is a shield, a defense against those who would seek to destroy what we have built." He paused, letting his words sink in. "We understand the weight of responsibility that comes with our newfound power. But we also understand the importance of preserving the peace. Humanity has been tested time and time again, and we've proven that we are not here to dominate. We are here to coexist." The room was still. For a moment, no one spoke, the tension thick in the air. Then, unexpectedly, a voice rose from the back of the chamber. "We've been watching," said the Dvasher, a race known for their keen sense of strategy and military prowess. "And while we have been wary of humanity's intentions, it is clear that you do not seek conquest. Your actions on New Horizon, the defeat of the Vorik, and your commitment to peace in the aftermath, they have spoken louder than words." The Dvasher representative stood and motioned to the human delegation. "We stand with humanity. We recognize your strength, your determination, and your willingness to protect the galaxy." The room erupted into murmurs, some in agreement, some still uncertain. The Cherith ambassador's eyes narrowed, but he said nothing. The Dvasher had spoken, and it was a pivotal moment. More voices began to speak up, not just in defense of humanity, but in support of a new era of cooperation. A fragile alliance began to take shape in that moment, a coalition that would reshape the future of the galaxy. Over the next few months, the negotiations were intense. Tensions were high, and many species, particularly the Cherith, continued to oppose humanity's growing influence. But despite their attempts to undermine the peace process, humanity's commitment to cooperation and unity could not be ignored. Their fleet may have been powerful, but it was used to protect, not to conquer. And in the end, it was humanity's willingness to forge alliances, to negotiate, and to respect the autonomy of other species that won over the majority of the Galactic Accord. By the time the treaty was signed, humanity had earned its place as a leading force in the galaxy, not through fear or domination, but through understanding, innovation, and diplomacy. The Aegis fleet stood as a symbol of human resilience, ready to defend the peace, but also to ensure that no species would fall beneath the shadow of oppression. Yet, even as the treaty was signed, a part of humanity knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and unknown threats lurked in the deep corners of space. The Cherith, despite their apparent defeat, continued to plot in the shadows, knowing full well that the rise of humanity was a challenge they could not ignore. And somewhere beyond the stars, forces even older than the Cherith watched with interest, waiting for their moment to strike. But humanity, united and stronger than ever, was ready for whatever came next, because they had learned that the galaxy didn't just fear humanity. It respected them, and that respect would be humanity's greatest weapon in the battles to come. The treaty signed between humanity and the Galactic Accord marked a fragile peace, one that would be tested time and again. In the years that followed, the galaxy began to change in ways no one could have predicted. The alliance formed between humanity and the more progressive species grew stronger, but there were still those, especially the Cherith, who whispered of humanity's ambition, their ever-expanding reach, and their potential for dominance. Ambassador Voss, now regarded as one of the most influential leaders in the galaxy, often found himself in delicate negotiations, trying to balance the needs of his own people with the cautious demands of the Accord. Despite his diplomatic successes, the whispers of dissent never ceased. There were rumors that the Cherith, still nursing their bruised pride, were seeking a way to destabilize the peace, to fracture the fragile unity that humanity had worked so hard to build. It all came to a head when an unmarked ship appeared on the outer rim of human-controlled space. The ship's technology was advanced, more advanced than any known species had ever developed. It was capable of phase shifting, slipping in and out of dimension with a terrifying ease. At first, humanity assumed it was another species testing their defenses, perhaps a rogue faction seeking to prove a point. But when the ship appeared once more, it wasn't testing anything, it was hunting. The first attack came without warning. The ship phased into real space and unleashed an electromagnetic pulse that crippled a human colony on the fringes of explored space. No warning, no demand, just a swift and brutal strike. The pulse disabled every system on the planet, rendering the colony defenseless. A second, more powerful attack followed, completely decimating the infrastructure. It was an annihilation, swift and ruthless. At first, the Aegis fleet responded, deploying ships to the colony, but by the time they arrived, the ship had vanished. The pulse attacks were too accurate, too efficient to be random. Someone had carefully orchestrated this. The question was, who? Voss convened a council with human leaders, military commanders, and members of the Galactic Accord. The threat was unlike anything they had encountered. A ship that could appear and disappear without a trace, able to disrupt entire systems with no visible origin. And worse, there were no demands, no known enemies who could be linked to the attack. This wasn't a galactic war. This was a targeted strike, one that seemed intent on sending a message. "We've underestimated something," Voss said grimly, addressing the council. "This ship, it's not from any of the known factions. This is something new, something far older than we thought. If they're attacking our outer colonies, they're testing us." His words were met with silence. The other species in the room, who had once stood beside humanity in mutual respect, now looked at each other nervously. The Cherith remained quiet, but their cold eyes seemed to shine with something darker, an intelligence that suggested they knew more than they were letting on. The first clue came when the Aegis fleet received an encrypted transmission. It was brief, a single line of text, encoded in an ancient dialect none of the known species had ever encountered before. But there was one word that stood out: rebirth. It was the Cherith who broke their silence first. Rethanner, the same ambassador who had warned the Galactic Accord of humanity's rise years earlier, spoke in a voice filled with regret. This is not a mere ship," he said, his tone uncharacteristically somber. "This is a relic, a weapon, An old faction that was once lost to the annals of galactic history. The Reborn? The Reborn? Voss asked, his voice sharp. What are they? They are the remnants of a species that once held sway over the galaxy, Thanner continued, his gaze shifting uncomfortably. Thousands of years ago, they were wiped out by the galaxy's most powerful civilizations, before the Galactic Accord was ever formed. Their ships were beyond anything we had ever seen, capable of warping space and bending time. But they were destroyed because of their ambition, their lust for power. They were considered a threat to all of existence. Voss felt a chill run through him. You knew about them? We knew their history, Thanner admitted, but we thought they were gone, erased from existence. Until now, the room erupted into confusion. The Cherioth had always been the galaxy's stewards of knowledge, its keepers of history. If they had known about the Reborn, why had they not warned anyone? The Reborn are not simply a rogue faction, Thanner explained. They were a species who tried to conquer the entire galaxy using forbidden technology. They did not die in battle. They were wiped out, erased from the records, and forgotten. Until now. But they are not the same as they once were. This ship you're dealing with is a prototype of what they once had. It can travel across dimensions, distort time, and phase between realities. They are trying to rebuild. Humanity was no longer facing a faction, an empire, or even a rogue species. They were facing the remnants of something ancient, something far beyond anything they had encountered before. What do we do? Voss asked, his mind racing. We fight, the Cherioth ambassador said quietly. We have no choice. But you must be careful. The Reborn's technology is dangerous. It's not just a weapon. It's a doorway. A doorway? Voss asked. A doorway to the past, Thanner said. If they unlock its full potential, they could undo everything. They could reshape the galaxy, bending it to their will. The stakes had never been higher. Humanity was no longer just fighting for survival. It was fighting to protect the very fabric of the galaxy itself. They had learned long ago how to adapt to new threats, how to innovate and overcome. But the Reborn were different. They were ancient, and they held secrets that could alter the course of time. The Aegis fleet mobilized immediately, with every ship in humanity's possession being sent to track down the mysterious ship. They had no idea where it had gone or who was behind it, but they were determined to stop them before it was too late. For the first time since humanity's rise, there was doubt in the air. Not just among the other species, but among humanity itself. They had been underestimated for so long, and now they were facing a force so powerful, so alien, that they didn't even know if their fleet was enough to stop it. But one thing was certain, humanity wasn't going to back down. Not now, not ever. They had already taught the galaxy what fear looked like. Now, they would show them what hope could accomplish. The pursuit of the mysterious Reborn ship consumed every resource humanity had. The Aegis fleet, bolstered by new alliances and the advanced technologies they had shared with their allies, scoured the farthest reaches of human space and beyond. Their search was frantic, driven by the knowledge that the Reborn were not just seeking to conquer. They were trying to reshape the galaxy itself, to rewrite history and erase the progress that had been made. The first breakthrough came when they discovered an anomaly in a sector of space long thought to be devoid of life, an area previously dismissed by the Galactic Accord as a barren stretch of star systems. But something was different. The stars in this sector flickered unnaturally, and sensors detected a strange, low-frequency pulse emanating from a singularity at the heart of the anomaly. The Aegis fleet followed the signal, prepared for anything, knowing the Reborn were capable of warping space and time. As they approached the anomaly, the massive fleet moved in unison, a testament to humanity's newfound unity. Then, the ship appeared. The Reborn ship phased into real space with an eerie silence. It was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Towering, black as the void. Its surface was covered in strange symbols that pulsed with a cold, blue light. It was a creature of the void, alive, somehow, and yet mechanical. It exuded an aura of ancient power, as though it had slumbered for eons, waiting for the right moment to awaken. At the helm of the fleet, Voss ordered his ships into battle formation. His heart pounded in his chest as he watched the enemy ship, unsure of how they could possibly engage something so advanced. "We're not sure what we're up against," said Captain Yara, the commander of the flagship Resolute. "Their technology is beyond us. We don't even know if we can track their movements or disable their systems." "I know," Voss replied, "but we don't have a choice. We stop them now, or everything we've built, everything humanity stands for, is gone." The battle began with a terrifying swiftness. The reborn ship unleashed a wave of energy that crippled a dozen human ships in seconds, their shields flaring before collapsing entirely. The fleet responded with full force, weapons blazing. But every shot fired seemed to phase right through the ship, doing little more than leaving faint traces of distortion in the void. The reborn ship had learned to manipulate the fabric of space itself. Nothing they could do would be enough. But humanity had something the reborn had never anticipated: unity and the relentless will to survive. Voss looked out the viewport of the flagship, watching as his fleet engaged the reborn ship. They were losing ships faster than they could replace them. It seemed hopeless, but then, an idea sparked in his mind. Something the Cherith had once whispered in his ear. Something he had never truly understood until now. If the reborn were trying to rewrite history, then humanity's greatest strength wasn't just in its weapons. It was in its ability to evolve, to change, to adapt. He turned to Captain Yara. "We need to find a way to disrupt their ability to phase. I don't care how, just do it." Yara nodded, her mind racing as she worked with her team to reconfigure the fleet's targeting systems. As they did so, Voss realized the truth. The Reborn's power wasn't just in their weapons. It was in their knowledge of time, their manipulation of reality. They sought to undo everything, but they underestimated one thing: humanity's refusal to stay the same. Humanity didn't just adapt, they thrived in chaos. The solution came in a flash. The fleet's best engineers had reconfigured the weapons into something entirely new: a time stabilizer pulse, a weapon designed to disrupt the Reborn's ability to bend time. It was risky, one shot, and if it didn't work, they would lose the entire fleet. But it was their only hope. With everything riding on it, Voss gave the order. The Resolute fired the stabilizer pulse at the Reborn ship. The universe held its breath. The shot struck the Reborn ship, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then, the distortion in the space around the ship began to unravel. It was as though time itself was being twisted backward, the ship's phasing ability failing, its once immense power now flickering. The fleet pressed forward, weapons firing with renewed intensity. Without their ability to phase, the Reborn ship was vulnerable. It fought back with everything it had, but without the ability to manipulate space, it was just another ship, albeit a powerful one. The Aegis fleet struck with surgical precision, targeting the critical systems, forcing the ship into submission. It was over. The Reborn ship, once an unstoppable force, now floated motionless in space, its engines dark and lifeless. The war was won, not through brute strength, but through humanity's ingenuity and its ability to adapt to an enemy that sought to undo time itself. As the wreckage of the Reborn ship drifted into the void, Voss stood at the helm of the Resolute, watching as the fleet returned to human space. The victory had come at a heavy cost. Many lives had been lost in the battle, and the scars of the conflict would take time to heal. But humanity had faced its greatest challenge yet, and emerged victorious. As the fleet made its way back, the members of the Galactic Accord sent messages of support, congratulating humanity for their bravery, for their resolve. Even the Cherith, once so dismissive of humanity's rise, acknowledged their strength. The galaxy would never be the same. The Reborn had been defeated, their plans for galactic domination shattered. But the message was clear. Humanity had earned its place in the stars, not just through the power of its fleet, but through its determination to protect everything it held dear. And as for the future, the galaxy would always remember the day humanity taught the stars what fear looked like. But more than that, they would remember what humanity had done after the fear had passed. They rebuilt, they rose again, and they kept moving forward, stronger than ever. For in the end, humanity's greatest strength wasn't just its power. It was its unshakable will to never give up. And that, the galaxy had learned, was something that no force in the universe could ever defeat.